Welcome to another chapter of the Dementia Diary, a chronicle of caring. I'm your host and author, Barbara Diamond, sharing with you my true story of caring for a loved one with memory loss. This chapter is titled, When Words Fail. The world of language is beautiful until it is not. The frustration that people experience when they have cognitive issues can be formidable. Imagine wanting to communicate, and the words that come out of your mouth bear little resemblance from that which you wanted to express. Whatever the medical explanation is, it affects most dementia patients. Even at its beginning stages, it creates difficulties communicating. When full-blown, it can cause a total shutdown of conversation between spouses to those around them. Not being able to speak as eloquently as they once did does not, however, imply that they cannot understand what is being said to them. This varies as well. This is such a complicated condition. Each subject is in some spheres unique, and in others, they follow a pattern. Each finds that nothing is predictable. There are no rule books, and we write our own as we plod through our days of caregiving. This morning, hubby announced that he had dropped his ginger cookie, which we call ginger snaps in the States, into his coffee. A detailed search of the cup yielded no remains. Do cookies evaporate when they have contact with liquid? We looked on the floor. We looked in his lap for the missing cookie, to no avail. As part of the morning routine, there are 4 pills that he must take before breakfast. Hubby looked in the little plastic cup, and lo and behold, he noticed that there were only 3. I realized what had just happened. Hubby had dropped 1 pill in the coffee, but he said it was a cookie. A quick look into the coffee cup indeed discovered a pill quickly dissolving in the warm brew. Hubby had been correct that he had dropped something in his coffee, but the word which he emoted was the wrong one. Even as we searched for a cookie instead of a pill, he did not self-correct the message. Ironically, however, he was able to look at the little plastic cup and tell me that a pill was missing, and he was right. The section of the brain which was unable to find the correct word when it was needed was impaired, and yet another portion of the brain was in full function when it came to analyzing his pills. I find this so interesting. This is yet again another indication that with dementia, one cannot presume that the patient is limited on all fronts. When hubby had his, what I call infamous 5 indoor falls in a 2-week period, and he was black and blue all over, he also had a large swelling on each hip. I would have called them lumps or hematomas. Hubby decided to use the word patch. "Be careful of my patches," he proclaimed each time he had a shower or needed assistance of any sort. It is interesting that he could not access a proper word for his bumps on each hip, so he adopted a new one. He still uses that same word 2 weeks later. His brain has replaced the old one with the new one permanently. If one listens carefully and spends substantial time with a spouse or the person that they're caring for, a new vocabulary will begin to emerge. The accessible words will be repeated and will ultimately replace the inaccessible ones. Trying to remind hubby of the correct word has little purpose because it no longer exists in his dictionary. Whether it's a blockage from blood flow to certain parts of the brain or a chemical imbalance which makes it hard for them to access words, it really doesn't matter. The bottom line is this cannot be reversed. For visitors, the conversations can be very confusing. Words are often used in a context that is unusual, and for those who live with the person who is chattering away, a pattern can actually usually be detected. But one has to have patience and be willing to devote themselves to this new project. My fascination with this condition is unending, and dissecting the incidents definitely helps me cope with even more serious ones and more difficult ones. When hubby wants to ask for a toasted pita for breakfast, the word escapes him each time. So he motions with his fingers into a circle. He wants something round, and yes, we understand every morning it's the same pita. Actually, hubby loves to talk and hold court. As he has no filter anymore, mental filter, he can be a very interesting chat, and surprises abound. Communication is really important to him, so much so that he wants, no, not really, he expects your full attention at all times. For many, this inability to pull the right word out of their memory is very upsetting. A friend's spouse in the early stages of his memory loss is an academic with a PhD in counseling. Words were always his lifeline. His wife shared that when they fail him, he sometimes says, "I am stupid." She reminds him that he is and always was brilliant. It is simply that his memory is letting him down a bit. This couple is at the beginning of their journey into this new and very complicated world. Hearing her experiences reminds me of those that I had many years ago. Hubby is not deterred from trying to communicate. He shares his thoughts nonstop. And when my head sometimes is a jumble from the words that he has substituted, his ego comes shining through. "What's wrong with you?" he loves to declare. "Aren't you paying attention?" He is quite content to blame me for my lack of attention and inability to understand him. It all requires patience, much beyond my meager resources. Sometimes I can be, and sometimes I cannot be patient. The first time he reads me his list of medications for the morning, I may be listening. The fourth or fifth time, I may have retreated into my shell like a tortoise who does not want to face whatever is bombarding it. I actually had a terrific idea for an ambitious inventor. A robot, which once hears a question answered, will automatically supply the same exact answer every time that question is repeated. I would buy stock if you want to patent the idea. Mr. Google says that there are approximately 50 million worldwide sufferers from various forms of dementia, with another 10 million new cases per year. It would be a veritable gold mine. Fleeting across my memory are the many times that hubby used to recite long speeches from Shakespeare. While he and his friends did not have the benefit of higher education in London during World War II, they studied everything that literature had on offer. They competed with one another. Who knew the most Shakespeare by heart? Hubby's adoration of language was part of his glamorous and very amorous appeal. This young girl from Arlington, Virginia, had never been wooed with Shakespeare before. Language is a very special friend, and we never want our friends to depart. This has been the latest chapter of the Dementia Diary, a chronicle of caring. For additional free resources for caregivers, please go to thedementiadiary.com. I am your host, Barbara Diamond, and I welcome you to join me again next time for another chapter of the Dementia Diary, a chronicle of caring.